Get this going. We can have the roll call, please.
Councilwoman Clerk? Here. Councilman Collings?
Here.
Mayor Redmond?
Here.
Member Stackfleth? Councilmember Globman?
Here. Okay, so first one up in the interview of applicants will be Paul Beck. Come on up. And you represent the at-large, or excuse me, out of the city limits
Yes.
seat. Any questions for Paul? He's been on here a while now.
8 years now?
I think 9. You were serving when I was appointed. I took over for Mike Burns
Right.
at midterm, and then two after that.
That's right. So you're at 10.
Been a little while.
It's been a while. Do you? It's a 4-year term, so you're 2-year term. You think?
I have never gotten a. This is awful loud. I'm going to step back. That's a good question. I don't even count. I do not know. I thought it was 2, but I know I've only been to 2 reappointments.
We're 4, and I was just confusing us. Well, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your service. That's a
thank
long
you.
run. Just want to say thank you.
And thank you for being one of the ones that appointed me. I appreciate it.
Anybody else? Okay. So we're voting one by one on this, or after everything is said and done?
I think after we've heard from everybody, because, we've got to weigh all the
Gotcha.
evidence,
Well, just because, okay, so the reason I ask is because these two are going for 1 seat? Because,
As-
Yes, one seat open for those that are living within the sphere of influence, but not in the city.
okay.
I couldn't quite hear you. So there are 3 for 1 seat. Is that correct?
There's one opening for folks that don't live within the city proper, but live within the sphere of influence in the county.
So it's Paul,
And Alan.
Alan,
And Laurel.
And Laurel.
Laurel Harkness.
Laurel. Right.
Yeah.
Those 3 are going for the out of the.
For that one slot.
That's okay.
And then we got, we've got 2 slots for candidates that are within the city limits.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Well, next up, Alan.
Okay. I wish
I
you.
guess right off the bat, since it's not just a rubber stamp, I guess we might as well get some questions to differentiate between you guys. First, I guess, why should we pick one or the other? If we're going to make a decision here.
I have to be honest and say Alan is a highly qualified candidate, and up until him having moved, I served with him for my whole, 8 years together, and I could not hold anything against you if you chose him over me. I just have to be honest about that. I just want to make sure that our city is in the hands of fine, conscientious stewards that are going to be mindful and watchful. I think for me, when I see what's happened in Reading and what's happened in Dunsmuir, I just hope we never wind up like that. And as long as there's people on our commission that will offer us a measure of protection, then I feel good. So that's about all I can say about that.
Interesting strategy.
It's a good I mean, I can't say anything against him,
Yeah.
And I have no opinion of the other candidate because I have no knowledge of her whatsoever.
Fair enough.
And sometimes in this job, even though it's not a highly political one, when you've lived here as long as I have, people come to you for advice and they want to know what's going on and they put their trust in you. And you can't always please everybody. I mean, I've made some unpopular decisions during my time and had to live with it, and you live and learn. You cannot make the right decision every single time, but you can just do your best.
Sure. Absolutely.
Anybody else? No? Thank you, Paul.
All right, thank you.
Welcome back, Alan.
Hey, guys. I know most everybody here, I think, except for you. I'm the only change in my life recently. I'm a licensed landscape architect, been licensed in the state of California and Oregon for about 40 years now. I've been working professionally from Sacramento to Grants Pass that entire time. I've been here in Mount Shasta, Siskiyou County since 1990. Mount Shasta most of that time. I've been serving on the commission since 2012 until I moved out onto Lassen Lane. And right now, just a few years ago, our firm got absorbed by a big outfit out of Oregon. ZCS, they're a multidisciplinary design firm, and I'm serving as their senior planner and lead landscape architect. And at the beginning of this year, I went to part-time, so that's nice too. I raised my kids here, plan on staying. I'm not going anywhere. Love the house we're in now. I'm interested in quality growth. I've been doing this professionally for a long time. I think that the ability to sort of understand how development can occur is really important to understand and help review projects that come to us, because that's our main role. Projects come to us, and how are we going to make this a better project, or should we approve it? Knowing how that all works, I think, is an asset to the commission. So, and I also think that's the best way that I can give back to this community I've come to love. So I hope, but Paul has a lot of passion. He's good at this job too. Laurel would be an excellent selection as well. You guys got a tough job ahead of you in choosing, but I hope that I'm the one that you choose still. That's all for me. Do you have any questions, I guess?
Any questions? How long have you been doing this again?
I think I started in 2012. There was no question. The first time I got interviewed for this, it was upstairs at City Hall, just me and whoever, I forget, it was Ned Boss and somebody, I forget who it was. But it was just sort of, you want to do this? And I was like, sure. I'll do this. So it's changed over the years. Questions and everything, microphone, television, a little bit. I think I started in 2012. It might have been a little after that. It's been, Melanie and Belinda have been here longer. I think that's it, at least on the serving commission.
Okay.
So, I like doing it. I think it's interesting to see what's going on. And like I said, have a hand in sort of making it better. I volunteered for projects here and there. Here in the little spring patio space and the sidewalk and all that. I did that years ago. Did the little plaza in front of the police station in the mid to late 90s. Did the medians. So I want to be able to give back to the community. So good luck.
We got one more question for you.
Yeah.
We recently passed the housing element, and that's an every 8-year or so kind of event.
It's 10 years, isn't it?
I think the next year or two are going to be relatively busy in the executional elements of the housing element. How do you feel you line up with being able to bring the kind of expertise that the city's going to need to go do that?
I think you need to put more meat on that question. I don't know, unless specific projects come to us. Can you help me understand your question better, please?
Well, there are, as far as I know, not being on the planning commission, but we had to work with you all and Jeff to get this housing element done and understand what was in it. While the static document gets approved, the execution of that is a living document. Relative to, for instance, the landing,
Right.
a large project, multi-use, complex, infrastructure-based. There's a level of expertise that says, hey, I've looked at the housing element and see the new sets of zoning laws and policies and procedures that get, and objectives. And for large projects like that, how does that translate? Because bluntly, never having been on the Planning Commission, I don't know. So I just wanted to ask.
Well, we do our best with the assistance, obviously, of our planner, to the city's planner, to review the documents, see how the two mesh, see where there are shortcomings, and see how it best applies to that piece of land. I am not as familiar with I know that the state had a lot of requirements on the new housing element. I wasn't on the commission as we worked through it. I've been off for the last, 14 months or something like that. So now that it's passed, I'm glad it is, and frankly, I'm glad I wasn't part of the whole process of going through it. Frankly, I mean, I've been a busy boy lately, and but we're always interpreting ordinances and new elements and things like that, and seeing, with the assistance of our planner, how this project meets the requirements of that particular element. There are greater allowances in the new housing element than we've ever seen before, and there are changes we'll have to deal with. Is that the direction of your question, is how we'll deal with how this housing element has changed how we can develop in Mount Shasta?
Absolutely, yeah. And thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, Laurel, come on up.
So this is how we're doing it. Hello. You want me to
Yeah,
just
tell us a little about
freeform?
yourself. Yeah, just tell us why you've chosen to take this on and be part of this, and then might have some questions for you.
Okay, appreciate that. I know most of you, but not all of you. So I'm Laurel Harkness. I'm based in the community for more than 20 years, and I've stayed engaged in many, many layers of the community. Have the opportunity to work in my profession with rural communities throughout the western states, and so I think that that's kind of part of what I want to do with the Planning Commission, is bring some of what I've learned outside this area and outside this region, and add some information, and hopefully without bias. I really believe in centering the community and the decision-making process, but also having some good information, some ideas, and so I feel like the time is right for me to kind of step into this role, and also a graduate student in rural policy and public policy at the moment, so kind of wrapping up that program. I'm going to be doing a big capstone project related to attainable housing, so I am aware of housing being kind of a main issue coming up with the housing element, so that was part of my interest in stepping in at this time. I've worked with the different state housing agencies and a lot of the regional partners related to housing, so I feel like I could contribute to those conversations. I think another challenge I know to be true in this community is community engagement, and we not having a newspaper, and I kind of witnessed some prior processes related to the housing element that could have benefited from a little bit more outreach and engagement, and I know that's not necessarily within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission, but I feel like that's something that we can encourage, is just making sure that people are aware of what's going on and not shocked or surprised, when things come later. So really working with the council and the commission to be a good steward in that way, and bring folks from the community into the conversation. So I'd say that sort of sums up my interest and some qualifications, but I'm happy to entertain some questions.
So I was just looking through you had mentioned, I'm sorry, for some reason yes was bolded, but you had chosen know here for if you're currently working on a city-appointed board.
Yeah, no. It's been a while since I've been on a city-appointed board, so yeah, Parks Commission in the way back time. But I am on a federal commission, a couple state commissions, and actually serve Plumas County in a role, and I work with Butte County and the town of Paradise on some wildfire resilience issues and some housing and those kinds of things. So I do what I can, where I can, but it's always my preference to do more at home. So.
Hey, Laurel.
Hello.
I've known / watched you on numerous different committees over at least a decade, as far as I've known.
Hopefully good. Yeah.
Well, as far as my awareness.
Yeah.
And you've always struck me as being not just capable, but more regionally and large picture oriented. And there's a reason I'm asking this question, is that seems to fit your kind of natural thought process. And my understanding, limited though it is, of the Planning Commission is especially in the recent post-housing element past times and large projects coming up in the next year or two, that it's going to be kind of nuts and bolts and nitty-gritty details. And so my question is, do you feel like you would like to make that kind of, not complete transition per se, because obviously you can bring a larger perspective to details, but where the job is really detail? Could you comment on that for a little bit?
Yeah, happily. Actually, my favorite is in the weeds, in the nuts and bolts, down to the parcel level, down to the, this easement or that really, technical issue that's very specific. I love that balance. I do work on federal policy, and I'm meeting with congressional leaders on housing policy, but what I do within my community here really grounds me, and having some of that really hyper-local experience. And I serve on the LAFCO, I'm on the Local Agency Formation Commission, and like you talk about in the weeds of spheres of influence and annex, and there's this community service districts. So we are in the weeds there, and I love that, and it helps keep me aware of what the really local challenges are, and gives me perspective in all the other work I do. So it's really additive, and I enjoy it too. I am fully aware that it's going to be in the nuts and bolts, and don't be apologetic about it. That nuts and bolts is really important in the work that commissions do and councils do. So I have a lot of respect for all the business that gets done in those places, and really happy to raise my hand and commit my time and my expertise in that granular level. So yeah, don't be apologetic about it or anything. I mean, that's the essence of the work that is done at the local level.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
All right, thanks you guys.
Thank you. So now they were the three going for the one share.
Yeah.
Okay, so at least we can get that done with.
May I ask a question?
Please, go ahead, yeah.
City manager, is there a, like in city council, when they get, somebody gets appointed to city council, there's a training program that they can be sent to kind of learn some of the structure of what a city councilor's job is.
Right.
Is there any kind of equivalent in the planning world? I mean, is there?
Yeah, I mean, so, there are trainings for new members that explicitly lays out basically the do's and don'ts of what you can weigh in on and what you can't weigh in on. And, your role as a member of the Planning Commission as your advisory, one. Two, when you have an application before you, you have to judge the merits of a particular submission based on what the zoning code says in any latitude that's allowed in that zoning code. But what you can't do is advocate for projects that aren't on the docket or attempt to move into the policy world and try to impress policy desires upon city leadership. And so that can be a fine line, and I know that we had some issues when I first came on, and I don't know whether it was because of a bit of a power vacuum in terms of leadership on the city side, but I think and I'm not there with Jeff, and Jeff is great and has a great relationship, and I think everybody's kind of singing from the same hymnal right now. The thing that becomes hard is when there's a focus on a pet project in the city, there isn't necessarily an application in front of you, and the desire to be on Planning Commission isn't so much for the review process of, and the typical roles of what's required of somebody on that board, but rather it's, an attempt to basically sway folks into thinking that a particular policy direction is best, and it's not the right place for that. Policy decisions are council decisions, not planning commission or planning roles or advisory. Sorry, that was kind of a long-winded kind of.
No, I appreciate it. That's what I was looking for, and thank you.
Okay, so before we move on to Tucson's interview, should we do that vote on the one chair now, or do it after everything is said and done? What's the?
Well, why don't we?
For discussion on that, but I'm not sure, so is that not a thing?
What do
Well,
we
yeah, to discuss before the vote, I mean, but I'm just saying, do we do all the interviews first and then pick, or?
I think the way that it's laid out, we would make one motion for all of them, but know that the
right.
motion that we're using is one of the three and two of the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it'll be one
So maybe-
motion, but we'll know that one of the people is.
So it's not, you would make a motion to, say, choose Alan, and then we would vote on that, and then otherwise, and if then that's not three, then we would move on to, say, Laurel or something? I thought that's how we had done it in the past.
No, I agree with that, but I think, say I would move to approve Alan, Tucson, and Cindy, and if there's a second, then we would vote, and if that failed, then we'd move on to the.
Oh, I see what you're saying, just do the
But
combination.
do it all together, since it's one agenda item.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Sorry, that wasn't clear the first
No,
time.
that makes sense.
Yeah, so Tucson and Cindy will be the two that are,
Okay, that was my understanding.
you have the easy job.
Well, we're still gonna be great.
Okay, well, since we're doing it that way, Tucson, come on up, and since you're here, and tell us about yourself again.
Well, I've been on the Planning Commission for 8 years, and I want to go at it again for another 4. I learned a lot over the past 8 years. So many different things that came through, whether it be the housing, the cannabis, different projects that came to us, and I feel like I know what's going on now, as a planning commissioner. And I bring my own, as you know, my own design background to the whole equation, so it seems like a good fit for me.
Any questions?
Thank you for all your years of service.
Yep.
Yeah, you're
Thank you.
welcome.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, and Cindy is not here, or not showing up, I take it? But she's already shooing anyways. So.
Well, but if she was every 10 minutes, she wouldn't actually be late if she was told every 10 minutes. You know what I mean?
Oh, like
Oh,
10, I thought it was
is that
every
what they were
5.
I thought they were told that they were
kind of
staggered
staggered.
like interview times every
Gotcha.
10 minutes.
Gotcha.
So she technically wouldn't be here till like
1, 2,
40 or something, or 50 even maybe.
That makes sense.
I
I was wondering why you
Yeah.
guys were just staggering in so perfectly well. There was a method behind it.
I'll just say, Jeff has been a real asset and a blessing for us to have on board. He's been, so his knowledge and experience is, really welcome and needed. Kind of help us go through all these, objective design standards for the housing element, and now we're going to be looking at tiny house ordinance. That's going to be important.
From your experience on the planning commission so far, what would you say, if anything, what element is missing from the commissioners that could be added via potentially a new person? Like what would you be looking for if you were?
Oh, as far as equality, or?
Yeah, or just like some sort of qualification or some sort of skill that, I'm not trying to say lacking, but like something that you would like to see a future commissioner bring to the table.
To make the commission.
I ask this because you are essentially already voted in.
Someone who can ask good and pertinent questions to understand a project, or bring something to the table that is not controversial, but something that we all need to think about in maybe a different capacity. Someone who's open-minded, someone who can work collaboratively as a team. Those are probably the main qualities. I mean, as far as professionally, yeah, it's helpful to know something about design, and the processes within, either a commission or city council, but I don't think it's totally necessary. We are advisory, so someone who can listen to the community's concerns, and make some good decisions from that.
You guys okay if I ask a follow-up? So one of the things you haven't mentioned is that you're a designer and you have been a designer, landscape architect. We've got Alan as also a really great designer, landscape architect. In terms of other skill sets, do you guys feel that you've got somebody representing the commission that thinks in a more big picture fashion, that can put some of the nuts and bolts and design ideas in context with what you want to accomplish, as a body?
Yeah, that's someone who's worked as project management, who's done kind of big picture kind of projects.
Yeah.
I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Hi. Pardon me, I just didn't quite understand you. I'm back several questions. You said something was coming up with the county? No?
No, not the county.
Okay.
Just the objective design standards we went through for the housing element.
Yeah.
And that was, there's going to be a bunch of follow-up with that with the state of California. So there's going to be a lot of follow-through on different things that the state will want us to do, whether it be different ordinances, different parts of the housing element itself.
And the headline of the follow-through is translation of to municipal code. Is that part of, or the central part of it?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
Nothing else? Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Have a good one.
Congratulations.
So we should wait a few minutes to see if Cindy shows
Yeah.
up, is what I'm gathering.
For sure.
That's what it sounds like.
The city like a firing squad to walk into.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we're.
Your name?
Don't look at me. Your qualifications? Our demeanor's a little more pleasant,
Interesting, the guy
unfortunately.
who sold, or had served for a couple of years is now, so he moved out of the county, so now they're running, sorry. Now they're running against each other, kind of.
Yeah.
Some of them, yeah. Alan and Paul.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you said I've been there forever.
But he was in
The
city limits, and then he moved out.
forever, I should say, so.
And they're quite different, those two. They have, well, maybe I shouldn't discuss that. I
Right.
We could probably discuss while we're waiting, maybe.
Yeah.
well, yeah, they're just very. What little I know, but I've got a chance for 8 years to in and out, see little bits and pieces, and they're like this. Alan is a exceptionally detailed, well buttoned up.
Yeah.
He presents himself as he is. And
So does Paul.
and so does Paul.
Oh,
They come at problems from very different angles. They're, again, both good people for sure.
Given that we know that Tucson will be appointed, because he's one of the two spots for in town, I think I got what you were getting at here, in that, is it an overlap to have multiple people who are landscape architects on the board at once? Do we want a different skill set? Is that a consideration, or do you just take all of them in a vacuum, or do we think about them as a group?
I think it's,
Well, I can give you my 10 cents on that.
Sure.
yeah.
I'm less oriented, and again, just speaking personally, not like this is how it should be, but just
Yeah.
my orientation. I'm less concerned about particular background elements and more concerned, especially with folks that have been there for 8 years and got an idea how
Right.
to do things.
Right.
You know, how their tone is relative to the housing. No,
And still be like, why, you know?
Just ask a completely unrelated
Yeah. Have you ever had a parking ticket?
She's very smart and, she's articulate and knows her stuff.
All right, so do we got are we back live? Okay, we're back live. And then do we have a motion for any of the candidates to fill those seats?
I will move to approve Alan Pardee, Tucson Sarian, and Cindy Lee Cone to Planning Commission.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes 4-0. Congratulations to those three people. And we'll be back here at 5:15 for closed session.